work, potentially. Okay? Alright, so I'll consider that attendance is done. Good. Let's do our in-class example. So, similar to last week, example, we're working off the same numbers. We basically have the same numbers, and last week we used our labour and machine. We're going to use the same numbers today to do our ABC costing. So when you're familiar with the units produced, we are familiar with the selling price per unit. And activity-based costing is basically what it says, activity-based. So it looks at every category of overhead expense, and it says what could be a potential driver of this expense. You know how with the other two, we've just basically gone 1.5 mil and we just allocated out the bucket. What we're now doing is we're going, okay, set up labour, what is most accurate for that? Machine running costs, purchasing, engineering department. Which one of the information we have available to us is the most appropriate base, or as we call it, an allocation driver? So if you had to think about it, for something like this setup labour, what would be a good base for that? What do you guys think would be a good base for that? Is there anything there that mimics the word setup? What about the first one? Number of setup hours by product. Set up labour. Setting it up, so that would be its allocation driver, I would say. What about machine running costs? What about machine running costs? What about machine time hours per unit? Purchasing department. That's an interesting one. What about purchasing department? So for those of you that don't know, the purchasing department is also in some places called procurement. Their job is to buy what we need. So they fill in the orders, get the deliveries, call the customer, calls the suppliers. So everybody gives them the numbers and then they order it wherever we order from. What would be the most appropriate allocation base? Sorry?
Raw materials cost per unit.
Raw material cost per unit. So in this particular case, we're trying to get down to the basiest of base.
Number of components.
Number of components. That's what I would use, number of components. Ideally, if you had something like purchase orders, that's what you would use instead. But we don't have purchase orders. Instead, we have number of components, which is usually listed within a purchase order. So that's what we use. Engineering department cost. There's nothing there like designs or anything like that. So currently, for engineering, the best you've got is your number of units. Anybody have questions about why or how I got to the base I did? Anybody? So activity-based costing is the preferred allocation methodology for any business. The reason for it is with costing, we try and allocate the most accurate cost to products at the most basis of units. If you consider something like labour or machine, activity-based is even more accurate because it goes down even deeper than the other two. The other two uses labour or machine. This one uses whatever is most appropriate for that particular expense. So whatever drives that expense is the basis for the allocation, which makes it more accurate and more appropriate. What is the main difference though? It is a very expensive, time-consuming methodology. So we would use this where we can, where the numbers and the cents are very critically important. But it can be quite expensive. So again, a lot of businesses will use machine or labor if they're a smaller business. The bigger they get, the more they'll use ABC. Places like PHP, Rio Tinto, Chevron, they all use activity-based costing with killer modules in databases. So this is what we would use to break those costs down. Because in those scenarios, again, 0.01 cents over a million units actually makes a significant difference in terms of profit margin. One of the key things why costing is important is it helps us eventually with our timing, with our inflows and outflows of our cash, because any business can restate their profits, but you can't lie about cash. And so this is where this comes in. Breaking down the numbers will accurately tell us how things flow into each other. So again, there's a template. I'm going to ask you to write your template out. I'm going to give you a couple of minutes to do that. It is actually really important that you sit at home and you write out the templates as many times as you can. The template is your steps that will prompt you when your brain freezes up. 1. When you freeze up in the test, as long as you've memorized this and you can jot this down, you've got something that can help you turn the escalator into stairs. That's why it's there. So make sure that you know it off by heart in your sleep. That's the first thing I would say to you. And the more you write it out, the more it actually moves into your subconscious, so it helps you. So I'm going to throw that up here. If you could please write this template down. It's got a couple of steps. So if you can write it down for yourself, so for ABC total, so usually, depending on the cost, we would leave these couple of lines open, but we've already discussed the driver base. So just write that down for yourself. You can use shorthand. And try to fill in as much of the information as you have. I might actually do the same as last week, where I throw out the information we have on this side. Can you guys there at the back see that screen? Yeah? Good. So your first row will be number of setups per production, and we allocate the setup labor. One of the first things I do personally is I write down my expense that I'm trying to allocate out, which in this case is 8325. Machine time by product. We obviously have the hours per unit and we have the amount of units. So we need to convert it back to a solid round number, which is why we will do a sub-calculation there. We write down our total allocate machine running cost. How much is that? 900,000. Components by product is obviously the amount of units times the number of components, and we will be allocating that out to give us our purchasing cost, which total to 250,000. The reason why I'm doing this is so that I don't have to flip backwards and forwards between my two documents. And then engineering department cost is 350. So let's start at the top, and I'm going to explain this through to you. Are you guys still writing this down? Yeah. Okay. Just tell me when you're done. Just say done. Okay? So just write it down. I'm going to assume that that's a yes.
Caroline said I'm done yet.
Oh. Yeah, but I also think that sometimes everybody assumes that somebody else is going to say done.
I'm here, I'll say.
Cool.
I'm done.
Yeah? Anybody else done? Okay, you can go as we go. I'll slow down enough. Okay, so we've already briefly discussed that for our first expense we need to allocate out is our setup labour cost of 8325. We've popped that in our template, and basically what we say is, okay, how am I going to do this? The closest thing I have is the number of setup hours by product. So our first allocation driver is going to be the number of setup hours per product. And so we fill that in, that line, 30, 50, 105, we move it across from left to right, 30, 50, and 105. We need to allocate out 8325 based on this. The best way to do that is obviously to add these up and make it a percentage. So 30 plus 50 is 80, plus 105 is 185. And so you basically say 8325 divided by 185 times 30. Gives you that one, and that one. Like, obviously, 8325 divided by 180 times 50 will give you that one. So for those of you, yeah. So we go 8325 divided by 185, and for the first one we would go times 30, which gives us 1350.00. And so you would do the same. So we know that 8325 divided by 185 gives us 45, so we know that that's our base. 45 times 50 is 2250.00, and again 45 times 105 is 4725.00. Now, you'll see this little block I have here. This is my cross-check block. What this basically means is all of this have to add up to that number. So I usually try and save time by just going 8325 minus 1350 minus 2250 minus 4725, which gives me 0. That's where it comes from. I've checked it. I know I've checked it. So for all of these, it has to move across. They have to balance. That's your cross-check. Does anybody have a question about the first expense allocation? Okay, let's move to the second one. Yes? Oh, 8325 is how much we've got to allocate out. In total, we've got 185 units. So if you try and figure out what's the base per unit, gives me 45. Okay? Then I just go 45 times 30 gives me this. 45 times 50 gives me this. 45 times 105 gives me that. Does that answer your question? Good. Does it help if I put this to the side here? I might do that for the rest then too. Okay. So the next one is the machine running cost. We've discussed it very briefly. Your eyes goes looking for machine running cost. In this case, we have machine time hours per unit. We also have the number of units so that we know how many machine hours we've used. Because the number of hours is obviously, we're trying to work the hours to the cost relatively. So the first thing I would do is to convert my machine hours per unit to full numbers of machine hours as an overall. You would go your units times how long it takes them to get the number. So the way we would do it is I do a sub-calculation in here. You don't have to do it this way. You can do it in a different way. So I write down all my units, which is 15, 24, and 5,000. So this is just a sub-calculation. And then I write down my machine hours. Again, your template after class will be 0.333. We're doing 0.33 in class. So we just do this little sub-calculation and we pop the answer. I pop it up here. And then basically the same allocation as the steps above. So 15,000 times 0.25 gives us 3750. Just do the other two. So 24 times 0.33 gives us 7920. 5,000 times 0.5 is 2,500. If we add up all these numbers, what do you get? You should be getting 14170. Everybody get that? Good. So the same goes as what you had before. In this one, I have to be careful and say to you, you know how with before we did the times 45? Going forward, because the numbers are breakpoint numbers, we cannot do that. Or you can, but you will be out. So we always try and do our base allocation again. So we'll be doing 900,000 divided by 14170 every step for these three products. So we'll be going, we basically say 900,000 divided by 14170 gives us 63.51446718. What do you think is the most appropriate number to use? What do you think is the most appropriate number to use? Huh? Activity-based costing works a little bit differently. The other two you had to round. In this one, we use the rawest number as possible. The reason for this is because remember how you took your 1.5 million and what you did is you allocated it across one base, right? And you rounded at that process. With this particular one, we're going to use the raw break at all 4 steps and round at the same spot, which is once we've allocated all the expenses out, then we round. Does that make sense? So similarly to labor and machine cost, we round, but it's the particular point where we round that's the same, okay? So in this particular case, if we take our number, we would say 900,000 divided by 14170. It gives me 63.5144 whatever else. We time it by 3750. And now we would use the break point. So 238179.25. So use the raw number here. 238179.25. And then we would do the calculation again because we obviously need the full 900,000 divided by 14170 times 7920, and now our number is 503,034.58. Do the last one.
158.
Before you write down this last number, the way I would do it is the following. I would calculate my number times my 2,500 Okay? So I round it. Before I write this number down, I will go and check if my numbers work. Plus 503,034.58 plus 238,179.25. 1 cent out. What do we do? What do we do? Where? Okay, so the rule is when you are 1 cent out, you pick the lowest number and include it there. If two numbers are the same, pick the first one on the list. I'm going to tell you that again, it's important. I even wrote a note about it. Right? So when you are 1 cent out, you pick the lowest value and include the 1 cent there. So in this particular case, we would be including it here because it is the lowest number. So just to get back to that number. Mine is 17. Okay? 158,786.17. When I tried to drop that part, I think that's where it happened. And I dropped it. Yeah. But it is important because the next one is the same. So you double checked, add it all up, you've made sure it's 0 before you even wrote the last number down. So then we're looking at the participant cost. We said if we had purchasing orders per product, we would do that. We don't have that. Something that is contained on a purchase order, however, is the number of units. That is what we're going to use. But to figure out how many overall units we have, we take our units produced times the numbers of units within the component. So the units, we write down our units again. Anything in a darker box that I've got here is basically a sub-calculation. You could, in last week's calculation, we did it like this. I just did it at the top of it. This week, I've just included sort of a little bit of a step, otherwise it gets too many zeros in a little box. And then the number of components is 4, I believe it is 4, 4, and 12. So similarly, we multiply these two, and it goes in this top box. We do all 3 boxes, we add up a total, and we do a break across allocation. So please go and do your 15,000 times 4, 15,000 times 4, 24,000 times 4, 5,000 times 12. Write them in the top box and total it up, please. If David Zaya is in this class and same link here, if you can come and see me after class, I'd appreciate that. Please. Thanks. Alright, let's do it. 15,000 times 4 is 60,000. 24 times 4 is 96,000. 5,000 times 12 is 60,000. And then obviously if you add up, it's 216,000. Again, raw numbers here. They don't, unfortunately, doesn't break down into a flat 45 like the first one, which is why we could cheat. So it's important that you use the full raw number. The reason why you use the full raw number is if you don't, then this total add up will not work. So if you go to 250 divided by 216, the number you should get is this. And then obviously times it by 60,000 for your first one, which gives us 69444.44. Please do the other two. So it's 250,000, divided by 216,000 times 96,000 gives you a number. 250,000 divided by 216,000 times 60 gives you that number. What I would like you to do is add up these three numbers and check if you match. Is your check 0?
No.
How much are you at?
1 cent.
Where do you put it? What was my rule? 1 cent off, and where do you put it? I'm going to tell you again. Write this down. I highly recommend. What do I do when I am 1 cent out? You pick the lowest value number and include it there. If you have two numbers that are the same, i.e. both of them are the lowest number because they're the same, pick the first one. So in this particular case, so these were two scenario rules. In this particular case, it says pick the lowest value number and include it there. Which product would that be? Product B. You would have gotten 111.11 for this product, and you would have gotten 69,444.44.
It's A. It's A.
Pick the lowest value number. Okay, yep, A. 69,444.45. So now, if you had used that number, and that number, you will now balance off. Correct?
Yes.
Correct. How would you do the next one? Considering with the next one, it's the engineering department, we have no drafting hours, we have no designs made, we have nothing really. So we're going to assume that the engineers' hours are proportional to the products they design. That's the only thing we have. Is their involvement extends as far as the products we have designed, because we don't have anything else, or the products made. So we write down our number of units in this particular case. Again, you don't have to write all of this down every time. You are welcome to either create a template or have it at the top, as long as you know how to allocate the space. Because guaranteed, every time in a test, somebody will say to me, what is an allocation driver? Like, or what does this word mean? And it is all in this template. Alright, so we go 350,000, the 15, 24, and 5,000. We add that up. It gives us 44,000 units overall. We take our 350 divided by the 44,000 units, and again, we get our number that we need. $350 divided by 44,000 times 15,000 provides you with a number of 119,318.18. Who's got the second number for me?
190909.09.
Correct. And then the third one is 39772.73. Now, if you add up your 350, your 250, your 900,000, and your 8325. Sorry, let me get a highlighter. Make it easier on the eyes. So again, do your cross check, make certain it's 0, and I did not bring one.
Look behind. Hold it on.
Does somebody have a highlighter for me quickly? Anybody got access to one quickly? Oh, thanks. So if you're adding up your main costs here, 250, 350, 900, and 8325, that should give you your, we double check it, that will give you what? 1508325. Again, when we add up all these numbers, it has to equal this. So, go and add up in a similar fashion each one of these. So, that one, that one, that one, and that one. That one. So if you add it up all the way to the bottom, and you do a cross check, it should match your 1.5 mil exactly. If it doesn't, you've rounded wrong somewhere. And so usually it will come down to one of these little numbers. Okay, so let's do, what is this orange box? Anybody?
428,291.
And?
0.88.
88. What do you do now? You've got your, so out of the bucket of 1.5 million, you have allocated 428k to product A. Overall. That's how much the bucket is. If I was to ask you what is the overheads per unit for product A, what would it be? Well, you don't know. So now you've got it divided by the amount of products. So 428 divided by your 15,000 units provides us with an answer of 28.55, that is correct. Please do the other 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. Actually, just do the allocated overhead for blue and green. And do your cross check. So 2250, 503.34.58, 1111111.11, 190,909.09, sorry, gives you 807,304.78. Do you want me to write it somewhere bigger? 7, 8. The green one is the 4725, 1587886.17, 39772.73, all added up gives us 272,728.34. So product C got, I might just do this green too. number 272,728.34. So they've got 272K of the bucket of 1.5 million. Add up these three numbers and make sure it matches 1.5. Does it? Yes, so your check here is 0. It works. You're happy. 807,304.78 divided by your quantity of unit, which is 24,000 units, gives me an allocated overhead per unit of 33.64. 272,728.34 divided by my amount of units, which is 5,000, gives me an allocated overhead product per unit of 54.55. A whole bunch of work done for you to get just to where you need to be. So this is why we say that the ABC is very expensive and time consuming, but it is the most accurate because you've gone down to the most base driver. So then this is all step 1. This is step 1 to get to this. This is all you've been working towards. Then step 2, similar to our other one, is our cost per unit. We put in our material that's been given to us from even the previous example. We have our labor, again it's been given to us. We just transfer it. And then we now put in our overhead that we have calculated. 28.55, 33.64, 54.55, which now allows us to calculate a cost per product, or cost by the product, individual product. This is a straightforward add up, which should give you 46.80, 78.14, 87.55. And then we work out step 3, which is our contribution margin and percentage. Again, selling price has been given to you, so you fill that in. And then obviously you transpose your cost. And you get your contribution margin. This is 31.20 for product A, 51.86 for product B, and 57.45 for product C. Calculating our contribution margin, we would take our 31.2 divided by the 78. It would give us, we round to the nearest decimal, full decimal. In this case, it's 40%. If we go 51.86 divided by 130, which is our selling price, to get a contribution margin of 39.89%. In the test, you would give that to me as 40%. For product C, if we go 57.45, which is our contribution margin, divided by our selling price of 145, that would give us 39.62%, and the test or anywhere else, full decimal number, it would give us 40%. Please see how every product now has 40, 40, 40. Because it's now being equally distributed against the products. The products now each carry their accurate weight of cost in relation to the amount of units and what drives them.
Oh, selling price.
Anybody have a question at this point? Yes. What about this? Well, this is your contribution margin that you learned about in week 5 from management accounting. Contribution margin is your selling price minus your cost, and then your margin is your contribution margin dollar value, 31.20, divided by your selling price of 78, which gives you 40.0 in this particular instance, so rounded to 40. Anybody else? So you see how our earlier weeks tie into this? Guaranteed you will get labor, you will get machine, you will get ABC, make sure you are practiced in doing it. Okay? You will get variance analysis. You will get a couple of investments. Yes?
Should the contribution margins be necessary all the same, or does it happen to be where it works out?
It just happens to be where it works out. When it does work out like this, then we're very happy. Usually it doesn't quite work out like this, but it's still the most accurate. Okay. Anybody else have a question about this? So let's compare it to last week's stuff. You might not have last week's stuff here. Last week for a labor costing, our contribution margins was that. And for machine, it was that. So machine, labor, machine, labor, and ABC. If you now had to choose the ones, so just for those that are having trouble, so machine, labor, and ABC. Which one of those would we choose if you had to compare the three of them? So those three methodologies, if I was to ask you to advise me which one our business should proceed with, which one would we proceed with?
Three.
Sorry?
Third one.
Why?
They're all about even.
They're all about even. If I asked you between machine and labor, so the first and the second one, which one would you go for?
First one.
Machine. Again, why?
Close to even.
Close to even. So as close as we can. The reason for it is shows us that they each carry the appropriate weight. If you analyze it a bit closely, you'll see that the product that is more machine intensive, so the machine hours per unit, is higher. You'll see that their expense for the machine running cost is a bit more. Whereas somebody like the engineering department will have a little bit more cost when it's something that's got, I might actually just show you. Might be easier to visually show you. So in the particular example, you've got product C is 0.5 of a machine hour. So where we're using the machine cost, if you were to up the units to be similar to the 24,000 units, proportionally it's carrying more of the cost for the machine because it takes the longest to obviously produce. So if you were to go rewrite your numbers so that all the products had 24,000 units, you would notice that product C would be more expensive when it comes to machine because of this whole, it takes more of the machine hour per unit, therefore the cost that it bears from the machine should be proportionally more. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? So this is what ABC allows. It allows you to allocate the cost based on what that particular product drives the most of. So a product that has very little labor but a heck of a lot of machine will have more cost when it comes to the machine side than the labor side. Does that make sense? Good. Anybody have questions about the ABC costing? It is definitely in there, like definitely. This one is also just a practice base, and again, I'm happy to give you additional examples or samples if you need. You're welcome to ask for that. The other thing that you definitely need to do and be able to do in industry, to the point, like I said, that I've given you a video on how to do that that we'll release after class, is something called a variance analysis. Variance analysis is something that we did touch upon briefly when we were doing management accounting, and in your test you had something similar to that very briefly. Your last question basically asked you about the variance between your budget and your actuals, and it's really important for you to be able to say, oh, we budgeted that we would get $100,000 in sales, but we only got $90,000, so we're $10,000 short. Except with costing, what have we been doing so far? What has been our aim? Getting to the most basis unit, hasn't it? Now, with this variance analysis, we're going even more base. We're actually going to go, because before we would just say, oh, we thought there was going to be, my cost for making this chair was going to be $50, but it turned out to be $60, so obviously it's $10 over budget. Now what we're going to do is we're going to actually look and say, we thought we were going to use 2 kilos of steel, but we used 2.1 kilos. We thought that in every steel, the steel would be $5 per kilo, and it was actually $6. We are actually going down the hidey hole to per kilogram and per hour. This is actually how a budget is calculated. We say, if you were to take any manufacturing, I'm going to use pharmacy just for an easy reference. If you say these little saline bags require the machine to run for 2 minutes per bag, somebody needs to check that bag for 2 minutes. And then there is the actual material that goes into it, the plastic. And that plastic is $5 per 0.1 kilogram of the plastic. And so this is how much the bag cost. So basically we're digging down into our variable cost, but like deep down. So when we're talking in this particular instance about per unit, we actually mean per unit labor or per unit kilogram, not per unit as in a done chair, which it has been up until now. Okay? So that's the first thing to be mindful of. So, I'm going to read you a scenario. It was part of your pre-work. And then it says basically to you that I've given you this, I might throw it up here. Left. So basically it says the cost of production budget is shown in the table for a small manufacturing company. Also included is the actual figures for the budget period. The variable overhead is costed at 40% of the direct labor. The budget was developed using an estimate 1.5 kilogram of material, so let's say steel per unit. But 31,875 kilograms was used at a cost of $262,000 as shown. The standard labor cost was $15 per hour, with a budgeted time per unit of 0.75 hours. A total of 14,500 hours were booked against the work. Note that as budgeted and actual outputs are the same, there is no need for a flexible budget. How much of the labor variance, and then it goes on to the rest of the question, but you've got to actually calculate a whole bunch of it. So the first thing is calculate the variances for all cost categories, and we need to label them. And then using a variance analysis, we need to find the material variance due to price and the labor variance due to wage rate, as well as the efficiency and usage variance. So we're going to do the whole shebang from beginning to end. This particular question says don't do a flexible budget, but we are going to do one together. So let's just go through the actual figures. It says that the number of units that we had budgeted on was 20,000 units, and we actually made 20,000. We thought that we were going to spend $2,400 on materials, but we ended up spending $262,000, sorry. And so in this case, we can already see that we had actually spent more than we anticipated by $22,000. So we already know it's unfavorable. In this particular instance, it's very easy to call because our units are the same. if our units had been different, we would have actually, I can't just look at it like this and call it. We would actually have to restate our budget or our actuals. Direct labour, we can visually see, we thought it was going to be 225, okay, it's 236, so again it's unfavourable. Our variable overhead is more, and our fixed overhead was flat, so overall cost is actually more than we anticipated. But now we've got to see why. Was it because of price, or was it because of how much we've used? Because remember, price times quantity equals the unit itself. And then the unit itself times the amount gives us a total sales. So let's do that. These all have sort of their own little template again. And I will definitely give you guys this particular template. It is asked for in the test exactly like this template is done. Like I give it to you in the test. I give you the template. And the template that I give is this one. The one we'll be doing together. Okay, so let's start at the beginning with this. Who here needs a moment to quickly write this down? Okay. So the first step, this first one, this is the step that you would need to do, you definitely need to do if your actuals and your budget is different. And the way we would do it is we take our budget number divided by the amount of units to get what we call a standard price or a budget price. And we would multiply this number with our actual number to restate our budget. Because we need to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. We can't compare apples to pies, which you would do if your budget was on 24,000 and your actual was 20,000. So you would need to restate it so you can compare. In this particular instance, it's a straightforward step for you. And all you need to do in this case is we obviously just pop in our budget numbers that we have, which is very straightforward. So I'm just going to go through these ones quite quickly, just because it is pretty self-explanatory. So in this instance, what I'm after is my basically standard prices, which is what we would be calculating here. Standard price per unit. And the way we would be doing that is obviously you say 240,000 divided by 20 gives us 12. 225,000 divided by 20,000 gives us 1125. 90,000 divided by 20,000 would give us 4.5. We would add this up and it's 27.75. Our flexible budget is where we take our flexible budget, so we restate it based on our actual units, times this dollar value. Again, this is when we need to restate apple to apple. In our particular example that we're using in class, its budget is 20,000, actual is 20,000. This step is normally not required. I am showing you this step because it could quite possibly be that your budget might be prepared on 24,000 and your actual is 20,000. At which point, in this case, you would need to go 24,000 units for your actual times this number to restate your budget. So flexible budgets at standard prices. So it's our actual units that we're using here, and we're timing it by our standard pricing to get these dollar values. In our case, again, 20,000, 20,000, it would be the same. So for us, there's no difference, but obviously if your actual units and your budgeted units had been different, it would be different. Anybody unclear about that particular statement? There's not much to do in this particular step, it's just being aware that if your budget numbers and your actual numbers are different units, you would need to do this step.
How does the variable cost calculated? Total variable cost? Just the sum of the three of it.
You mean here? Yes. So it's 12 plus 11 plus 4 gives 27.
And is that the same for the budget one as well?
Yeah?
No, not like 555.
Yes. It's just these three added up. 555000.
Alright, no, I didn't get 24,000 from materials. I did the same.
Oh, I see. Just to complete it, I'm just going to write down the numbers. Like I said, it's no different to what you already have. So this business needs to make at least 805,000 just to cover the cost. So, at the moment, we're just trying to calculate the cost variances for each category, and we're just trying to make sure that we understand what's going on. So the first one was calculate the variances for the cost categories, labeling them as unfavorable or favorable. We haven't done that yet. This is our next step. This step is an easy way for us to get to this step, but you could have done it all in one. I personally would skip this particular step and do it in here. But if you do it this way, all you need to do is transpose this and transpose that. Your standard budget is where you started off with. The reason why we want to do this is because we want to see the overall variances. Now for us, it's actually pretty easy. We can look with our eye and say labor or materials, sorry, is $22,000 out. And variable is 4540 out, and so we can see it with our eye because our obviously base units are the same. If it wasn't, you would need to do this. So let's do it. So standard budget is the budget that they have given us. Our flexible budget we've calculated at the above, so we can just drop it in here. Oh, sorry. 240, 123, 225, 123, 19, 123. Sorry, the 123 is me just counting out the zeros, not because it's 123. An actual, actual is the actual numbers we were given. Sorry, I didn't look at the top heading. It's the actual numbers we've been given there. That goes in there. So materials actual numbers is the 262. Direct labor is 236350. 94540 for variable overheads. Overall total variance cost is 592890. Fixed is 250, and then our total is 842890. So you could have very well just put your actual given to you in the bottom box, your budget in the right-hand box far here, and you could have restated your flexible budget without doing the top one. The top one is, however, is recommended when your units are different, so you can restate your units. What you're after here is all this work has been done for literally getting the answer. Literally to get this answer. They're asking you for the variances for all cost categories. This is what we're after. That would have earned you 4 marks. So 262000, and you originally had 240. The way I go about it is because then it gives me my number, is I would start with my flexible budget. My expenses should have been, restated should have been 240 minus 262, which is what I ended up with. In which case you will get a negative of 22,000. That tells me that it is unfavorable. So that's how I would do it. In your test, it's very important to not include brackets. Generally with variance analysis, in terms of me showing you the calculation, so if you go, your flexible budget restated, minus your actual, and it gives you a negative number, drop the negative, the minus, and that's your unfavorable. That's what it signals to you. With a variance analysis, unfavorable signals negative, and F signals positive, favorable. So the way this would be denoted in an appropriate manner would be, so 225,000 minus 236,350 would give me minus 11350. I just write down 11350 and note it as unfavorable. So, had we stayed within our budget for our units, our restated budget is 90,000 for variable cost. We actually spent 94,000. We went 4540 over. You would have gotten a negative if you had used my formula of flexible minus actual, and it gives you unfavorable. And your fixed overhead, 250 minus 250, 0 difference, and you just say 0. 0 can be neither favorable or unfavorable. However, if you do say 0 favorable or 0 unfavorable, I'm not going to make it wrong, but if you just said 0, that would be fine too. So there's some of these steps that you can cut out. I'm just explaining to you the full steps. The next question is super important that you understand and stay with me. It is a total of 8 marks. We're going to do 2 things. We're going to figure out the material variance due to price and how much was usage. And then, so see how here you have material variance? We want to know how much of that was because of price and how much of that was because we used too much or because we wasted too much. And then similarly with our labor, we want to know how much was because the wages was different, maybe because of overtime, and how much was because they were lazy and sat on the bums instead of working. Okay? That's what we're going to try and work out next. A lot of the time, you will not need to calculate this first step that we were doing together. A lot of the time, you will have the information to do this. This is the layout that I will be giving to you as part of your test. So if you understand this, great. However, if you want to use the formulas, you're more than welcome to. Again, with accounting, there's many ways to skin the same cat. You can use formulas like this, you can use this layout, or you can use any of the other options that are out there and available. This one, to me, is more transparent and more clear, but you're welcome to use whichever you would like. So as with accounting as a general, they give you a buckload of information and you've got to distinguish what is important and what is not. Now, no fear, whether you're an engineering student, a business student, a lawyer, anybody reading that lots of words, I would have gone, holy heck. Where do I start? My answer to that is, how do you eat an elephant? Anybody has heard that saying before?
Start with toes.
No, one bite at a time. That's how. So this is how we do it. We read one little bit of information at a time and fill that out. So the way we go about it, the way I go about it, is I have this little template. I go cost, price per unit, quantity per unit and quantity. So quantity will be, for example, how much kilograms. My unit will be, in this particular instance, would be the denotion. Is it kilograms or hours? And so we work it back. I might give you a combination of information and then I break it down into actual and I break it down into flexible budget. So this flexible budget would be similar to there. And now I'm going to take all of this information that they had given me, which is that writing blurb, and figure out where goes what. So it says to you that the variable overhead is 40% direct labour, for the time being not important. The budget was developed using an estimated, which was also budget, right? Estimated 1.5 kilogram of material per unit. So we go to our budget and we try and say, it says material was how much? 1.5 kilogram. Flexible budget, it says an estimated 1.5 kilogram of material. So we go to flexible budget, material, 1.5 kilogram. But 31,875 was actually used. So we go to actual, material, and the total quantity that we actually used was 31,875. At a cost of 262,000. So we fill out what we've got. Standard labor cost was $15 per hour. Budgeted time per unit was 0.75 hours, but 14,500 hours were booked against the work. So where does what go? So firstly, standard labor cost, that's usually a budget standard. Standard labor cost was $15 per hour. But the budgeted time per unit was 0.75 hours. 14,500 was actually booked, hours was actually booked against the work. And from this, you can fill out all the other boxes. So what are the things that you're missing? And don't say everything else. Anybody want to have give it a go? What is 30,000 divided by 1.5? Where do we start, peeps? Give it a guess. Give it a guess. What do you have? What do you have? So I'd like to point out to you a few things that you actually have. In this particular case, you have direct labor cost. You also have your flexible budget direct material cost and direct labor cost. Where do we get that? For those that haven't noticed yet, so those all correspond to each other, it's the same thing. It's different layouts to calculate different things in an easier manner. So you have that. Then, so the price per unit will come down to, we've used a quantity of 31,875 kilograms total. It says there, we've used a total of 31.875 kilograms, and it cost us 262,000 for the whole 31,000 kilograms. How much is it per kilogram? So you would go 262 divided by the 31,875. 262 divided by 31,875 gives me 8.2196. I'm just going to write that there for the minute. How would I know how much quantity per unit was used? So we know our total quantity was 31,875. Quantity per unit would have been quantity divided by number of units. So what is that answer? 31,875, which is given to you, divided by how many units? 20,000 units given to you, gives you 1.59 kilogram. So here you can already see with your eye that they said to you it was budgeted on 1.5, and you've now just calculated that actual was 1.59. So you've used more material. In reverse, if this one is that one divided by 20,000, then obviously quantity would be the opposite. X divided by 20,000 had given me 1.5, and if this is X, then how much is that? 20,000, which is our number of units given over there, times 1.5 gives us 30,000. And then, of course, we can work out this number, which is our 240,000 divided by our 30,000 equals 8. So already we can see, as far as that is concerned, we have, obviously, the price was different. It was more expensive, the actual cost per kilogram, but we also used more kilograms per unit. So this is where our variance will come in. That's why. Not only was the price per kilogram different, but we used more. Please try and see if you can calculate the direct labor numbers. There's 3 blocks. 1, 2, 3. If you follow the same as up here and you just replace the numbers, so if you go cost divided by 14500 gives you this answer. 14500 divided by 20,000 gives you that answer. And then this one is
Itu udah pada ketinggian kiri ya.
So this one obviously is the direct labour divided by the price would give you the quantity. So this answers for this is 16.3 for the price per unit for direct labour actual, and the quantity per unit for actual direct labour is 0.73. So from this comparatively straight away you can see we used less hours per unit, but it was more expensive per unit. And then 225000 is the total cost divided by 15, which is the price per unit, gives us the amount of units, which is 15,000. Anybody have questions for this? Yes? Sorry? This one? So the 30,000 is X, and it's basically just this 8. So you made 20,000 units, right? And each unit takes 1.5 kilograms. So 30,000, you made 20,000 units. There's 20,000 units. And every unit uses 1.5 kilograms. So 20,000 times the 1.5 kilograms gives you total kilos. Okay? Sorry. Okay, so once you have this information, this is pretty self-explanatory. It's a fill in the blank. Again, you don't have to do the other step, you could have skipped straight here, but essentially what you're trying to establish is the variances. It actually gives you the formula at the top. There's a video that will be released about this so that you can watch it and watch it again because it's very important. We will be running out of time on this, so I'm just going to show you the solution and quickly walk you through that particular part. But again, you will have all of this and this should be familiar by now. So the layout that I use is cost incurred, which is A, and it's all your actual inputs times your actual price. Then you get your price variance, you get your flexible budget, your efficiency variance, and your flexible budget. So it's your flexible budget at standard pricing, and then your original standard budget and your totals. Peeps, shh. Ultimately, the information that you're going to need is these lines. The rest is just calculating it out. So it's information that you had, 31,875, they had given to you, and it's also there. You take this and you put it in your flexible budget, actual input. Actual input, and this is price. I've given you the formula there. So actual input times price. You've got your actual price. And for this flexible budget, you use your actual input times your budget price. So these are basically representations, but on a base level. 255, which is 31,875 times $8 gives you 255, minus your 262, which you know of because you have it, gives you minus 7. In the test, you would represent that as 7,000 unfavorable. And similarly here, you go 240 minus the 255. It gives you minus 15, and the test is 15,000 unfavorable. These two added up will give you your total of 22,000 unfavorable. Notice how this 22,000 unfavorable ties back to what you had spotted here. Luckily, you could spot it here because these were the same.
Sambil study, sambil buat action.
So all of these numbers cross-match with each other on a constant basis, including to this calculation. So all of them do line up with each other. The most important thing to remember here is basically if you have this number, these numbers, basically these numbers, you can do this. That's what you need. You transfer that one across here, you transfer that one across there, that one there. So it's the same information. I will be on Slack to answer any of these questions. Once I've got my phone back, I'll post it for you, but I'll definitely be on Monday, the whole day, to help you prepare for your last test. Please use that resource. Remember quiz 5, so relax a little bit. If you do you for your part, I've got your back. Just try. That's what you need to do, is try your best. Alright? See you guys next week. Any students with special consideration requests like headphones or whatever extra time, please come and see me or send me an email.